SUPERHOT is one of the few game series that I've played through entirely and have enjoyed every single iteration. The independent developers have recently come out with the latest iteration of their series, SUPERHOT Mind Controlled Elite. So in recognition of this event, I thought it would be fun to look back on SUPERHOT's history as a game. Let's go back in time for a second. The year is 2013. Barack Obama began his second term as president, Edward Snowden killed my trust in the United States government, and a small group of indie developers created a game prototype for the 2013 7-Day FPS Challenge. The lead developer, Piotr Iwanicki, wanted to do something innovative with the FPS genre, which in his opinion was in a gridlock of a standard formula since the development of Doom. I don't exactly agree with this point, but I digress. The game features a unique mechanic in where the game's movement is entirely based on the movement of the player. This means that enemies, objects, and even bullets move only when the player moves or looks around. To put it more simply, time moves only when you move. The game I'm talking about, of course, is SUPERHOT. The development team put the game up online as a free in-browser game, received a lot of attention. I remember hearing about it from a gaming channel called NerdCubed, and immediately going to play it myself. You can still play this version on SUPERHOT's website. While this iteration has all the hallmarks of being an early alpha prototype, it's undeniable the game has a style to it, in addition to the iconic time warping mechanics. The red color of the enemies and the black of the pistols gives a striking contrast to the white and gray backgrounds. Even the music is fitting with its droning electronic notes, almost soothing to the ears. I really enjoy this actually. A lesser developer would have paired this game with some kind of in-your-face action music from The Matrix or something, and it probably would have taken away from the experience. It seems like the developer's intention was to make a game aesthetic that is simple yet striking. Overall, I think this worked in their benefit. The game became very popular, and soon the team sent SUPERHOT to the now-defunct Steam Greenlight system. It became the fastest game to be approved through Greenlight at its time. In 2014, the SUPERHOT team launched a Kickstarter to make SUPERHOT into a full game. It met its goal of 100,000 United States dollars in under a day. Why was the goal in USD when the development team was located in Poland? I'm not sure. I think at one point there was an issue with Kickstarter not existing for Poland in a while, and then it did. I'm not really too sure. I just want to grill for God's sake. The campaign ended up funding over $230,000, meeting both its primary goal and a myriad of stretch goals. The final product was produced later that year, and it was a hit. The full version stuck to its roots, keeping the primary mechanics and the simplistic art design of the prototype, while also adding on a number of features like more weapon types, more levels, and even a story. The story isn't personally my favorite. It took away from the gameplay a lot, and it seemed kind of phoned in places. It also gave me a kind of why do video games support meaningless violence vibe, which is like the kind of thing Tipper Gore would like. Being the sole member of the Anti-Tipper Gore Association, an activist group with the sole purpose of hating Tipper Gore and everything she stands for, I don't exactly vibe with that. Raising PG kids in an X-rated society. God, I hope she dies of a disease that's financially draining to her family.
Bam! Just like that. That's all there is to it, Dustin. That's all there is to it.
What makes SUPERHOT great is the gameplay and the visuals. The basic art design stays consistent with the red enemies, black objects, and white and gray backgrounds, but everything looks more polished and a little less like an alpha release. The core time-altering mechanics also remain consistent with the prototype, but a lot of new content is added. New weapons, new abilities, new enemies, throwables, etc. However, none of these additions take away from the core gameplay. There also isn't too much fluff added in that would complicate and distract from the gameplay. Oh, sorry. This kind of application of new features is very well done, and honestly, I think a number of AAA developers could learn a thing or two from it. Overall, to put it simply, I'd have to say that SUPERHOT is the most innovative shooter I've played in years. There's also a SUPERHOT VR game and a card game, I guess? Sure, why not? But I don't have the money for a VR headset, and I refuse to play card games that aren't Uno, so I can't really speak on their quality as games. There's probably someone else out there that could do it, though. So after Superhot came out, I thought that was it. They made a great game with a mediocre story. I played through it, and now they'll set their sights on other projects. And then a few years later, I get a notification that since I own Superhot on Steam, I'm eligible for a free beta copy of Superhot's newest game, Superhot Mind Control Delete. This surprised me to say the least. The Superhot team came out with what I presume to be the sequel to Superhot and was giving it out for free to people who already owned the first game. Seems like a weird business choice. I think this was a way to get more beta testers on board, especially since that this was a limited time offer. I played the beta version, and once again, they managed to add more features to the game, and that didn't take away from the core concept. It was a bit buggy, and it is clear that work still needed to be done, but that's to be expected with any beta version. Besides, it wasn't as bad as the beta version of Broken Reality, for example, which managed to fuck up Zach's computer in a major way. New versions of this game came out as they updated it, and earlier this year, the Superhot team released the full version of Superhot Mind Control Delete. And while everything was relatively similar to the first game, it was overall an improvement. The story of this game was still pretty meh, but it's a bit less intrusive than the last game, with short sequences of text instead of full conversations with people I don't care about waxing and waning on violence in video games. The Superhot website introduces this game as a canonical sequel to the first, but I hardly see the connection. It doesn't really matter anyway, because like I said, the game's franchise shines in the gameplay. The gameplay is excellent. If I have to critique anything, it'd be the fact that this game just kind of seems like an update and not a sequel from the first game. Why the development team just update the first game and make the extra story bits into DLC is beyond me, but I'm sure they have their reasons. That and the 2-hour gap you have to sit through at the end of the game. Who signed off on that? I'm super happy overall about Superhot's evolution into a full-fledged game. When it first came out, I was afraid that the paid version of Superhot would lose sight of what it was and deviate from its original intent. I was afraid it would become just like any other schlocky action title, but instead it became a well-polished full game that exceeded my expectations. The Superhot team is a truly talented group of people, and I'm excited to see what comes next from them. I'd recommend buying and playing Superhot Mind Control Delete because in my opinion, nothing is really added by buying both games, and Mind Control Delete is the best of the three. If you have a headset, I hear Superhot VR is pretty cool too. And if you can bear any card game that isn't Uno, I guess pick up the other the paper what are those things? Paper square game? Cards. I forgot the word for cards. Can you tell that I didn't write the script for this last bit? Okay, bye.